In this video, we'll look at cloning the stars on the wall, those glow-in-the-dark green stars that'll really add a nice bright point against the deeper tones of the room. What you may see is that there's a little bit of lag in the editor as the lighting recalculates depending on your lighting settings. So far we haven't lit this level, but Unity is made so that it automatically updates lighting in the scene. To avoid any lag and generally speed up the process of placing objects before lighting, choose Window and Lighting. In the lighting window, make sure that Auto next to Build down at the bottom right is not checked. Even though we haven't dealt with lighting yet, what we're seeing is that Unity is trying to rebuild the lighting as we go. We haven't marked anything as static for light baking, and we really haven't dealt with lighting properties at all, so we don't need it to continually rebuild and try to fine-tune lighting. Once Auto is unchecked, close the lighting window. I'll clone the stars around, selecting the wall object and opening it up, and picking Wall Star, pressing F to frame in that selection. These are glow-in-the-dark stars stuck on the wall. What we need to do on these is to configure them to not cast any shadows and then clone this prefab around. I'll open up the Mesh Renderer component on the stars, and we can see in here, in this star, that Cast Shadows is on and Receive Shadows is checked, and Use Light Probes is checked as well. What I'll do is turn Cast Shadows from on to off by using the drop-down. This way, there is no way that these stars will cast shadows, thereby speeding up the rendering. As they're very small and on the wall, we don't need any particular shadows from them, as we wouldn't be able to see them anyway, and they would simply be computationally expensive. To clone the star, we need to make sure we're moving in the right direction, and that our pivot is set for the center of that object. Right now, we can see we're using the pivot of it as it was set at 0, 0, even though the star is quite a distance away. What I'll do is click on Pivot to change to Center, and now I'm moving based on the center point of that star. Additionally, I'm set to using the local mode here in the tool handle. If we switch to Global, we'll be moving off-axis from the wall because we've rotated the wall and floor 45 degrees. Make sure you click on Global to change over to the local axis of this object, so that in this case, the red x-axis of this star is aligned with the wall. Now I'll duplicate this, pressing Ctrl or Command D, duplicating the star, and sliding it over. I'll pull these around and create a pattern on the wall, again avoiding any incidental alignment that might seem rather odd. You can clone as many stars as you like. I'll put out 5 or 6 in a roughly random pattern on the wall, as if they were placed there by a child. Alternately, if there's a constellation or other design you'd like to make, feel free to clone as many stars as you'd like. Now that I've got these in here, I'll click Apply in that prefab, and this will make sure that any changes I've done will apply in the prefab on that star. If you'd like, you can clone stars onto the other wall, but for this I'm going to leave my 7 stars here just on this left side wall. If you'd like, you can clone more stars throughout your level. I'm going to leave these alone, making sure that any changes are applied, and we can tell here in the hierarchy because the prefabs are shown in blue after I clicked Apply here in the inspector. Next, we'll look at the level boundaries, creating invisible colliders so the player doesn't fall off the world.